Good afternoon. My name is Joe Vandal. I am the last Rosicrucian. Today, I think it's going to be a shorter video, uh, but the topic is getting lost in the weeds and how this idea of getting lost in the weeds is actually an important part of the spiritual journey. Now, age each age has its own challenges. And the challenge for people on a spiritual journey today is getting lost in the weeds. There's so much trash out there. How do you tell what's the real stuff? How do you tell what's important? And that is the secret. That's the discernment. That's the wisdom that you only get the hard way. And I'm going to kind of talk a little bit about that as the topic because it's well known. It's well known in the spiritual journey. It's been called several things. One of the things that it's called is the sword that blocks the Garden of Eden, the sword that turns in every direction, no matter which way you try to go, the sword blocks. Um, in the Holy Grail, Percival, doomed to travel every road without gaining salvation until there are no more roads to travel. But you can also look at this from the point of view of mechanical physics. And you can say, hey, there's a container and the water is dripping into it or rising out of it like a street, like a spring, however you want to call it. And the nature of water is to go to the sea, to go to the ocean. Gravity will, there'll be the tiniest little crack, the tiniest little opening, and the water will find that and it will escape. Well, and when a person's task, when their job is to fill the basin completely, they what their what their task is to start plugging holes, and you keep plugging holes until the water level builds up and builds up and builds up until it finally overflows from a position of fullness. So that's an example out of physics of the metaphysical principle that we're kind of talking about, because what in the spiritual journey, in the journey of the soul, what we're trying to do is develop and build up our soul. We're trying to develop and build up our astral bodies, our energy bodies. And what happens is it keeps leaking away. It keeps finding an escape. Now, how does that tie in with getting lost in the weeds? It ties in a lot of ways, but one of the ways that it ties in is we can only take in so much. We can only absorb so much at a time. That's why traditionally any training has different grades or different degrees or different layers because you can't, the person cannot conceive of the enormity of the truth, if you will, except in stages. And as somebody who's been on this spiritual journey my entire life, I am constantly amazed, especially in these later years, about how I can go back and restudy and reread earlier material and get something totally out of it that I missed the first time around. It was there, but I did not have the ability to perceive it. I could only perceive it after many years and after working. Now, I'll give an example of something that's kind of like obvious, but that's the way a lot of this stuff is. It's actually only been in the last 3 years, actually 2 years, um, that I really, really, really understood the importance of a daily practice. And it didn't need to be much of a daily practice, but the daily practice being consisting of, for me, consisting of some some morning stretches, and a good meditation. And that came about really because that was one of the disciplines, or one of the things that uh, the order of bards, ovates, and druids taught in the ovate section. It's what is your daily practice? And the daily practice needs to involve your physical body, because your physical body, you're trying to integrate not only your soul, not only the energy bodies, but you're meant to, your physical body is meant to celebrate with you, or worship with you, or whatever, so that it's appropriate that your physical body is able to do that along with your body of light, or whatever you want to call it. Um, but on a daily basis, because it's that daily basis that really, really um, magnify magnifies, or multiplies the results that you get. It's where you really get ahead. And I've, like I said, I've since I was 19, I've been on this spiritual journey. And that simple fact of a daily practice never soaked in. It just totally never soaked in. Now, I made a lot of progress and a lot of gains over those years, um, but it was kind of one of those binge type things. Okay, I'm sucked into this, and now I'm done with that, and I'm sucked into this, and I'm done with that. Did I have a constant daily practice? No, I did not. Okay, now if we circle back to the weeds, what I'm finding out as I get older, and I'm older, and what happens is I channel more energy. Um, I'm become more powerful, if you will, that way. My personality becomes, my aura becomes clearer and stronger. Uh, and what happens is as you channel more energy and more power, your ability to attract and your ability to repel increase. So what happens is each one of us has a sphere of influence. Gradually over the years, my sphere of influence has increased. In other words, my thoughts, my spoken words, my videos, some of the writing that I do has reached a larger and larger audience. Still relatively small, but it is increased. People that appreciate what I have to share. Um, and how did these people find me? Or even more important, how did I find the people that influenced me? How did I find the material that influenced me? It was, I was drawn to it. I was magnetically drawn to it. It that's the only way I can think of, because as somebody is speaking at 67 years of age, I look at some of the reference materials I have. I look at some of the material that I have on my bookshelves. I look at some of the information that I have access to online or through some of my membership in some organizations. And I've got some first class resources that I am able to draw on that most people don't have. They don't even know that they exist. And how did I find those things? Some of them they're really out of the way topics or authors or whatever. And it's the hard way. It's uh, getting lost in the weeds. And you're getting lost in the weeds, and every now and then you find something that's really gold, pure gold. Um, how? Let me just say something here. Share something. I'll show. Okay, here is an interesting book. Initiation. Boys are born, men are trained. My Journey with an Apache Medicine Man by Jeffrey Prather. How did I find this? I just stumbled upon this online, uh, reading about, oh, I don't want to say conspiracy stuff, but uh, you could say uh, right wing conservative material of more of a political nature or whatever. And all of a sudden, I come up with this book where it recounts the author's training by an Apache medicine man when he was a young man and how it affected him. And it has really, really some valuable material, information in it that I really cherish, and that I would have not been able to find anyplace else. And it allows me to compare, in a way, some of the spiritual tradition that he describes as the Apache traditional spiritual tradition, and some of the other ones that I've been exposed to over the years. Because my own journey, just like everyone's journey, is individualized. You're never a clone of everybody else. Every person's journey is individual. And every bit of information we have to restate in our own words and in our own understanding. We can't just copy from somebody else because that doesn't work. And ultimately, that does not work. We have to go through get lost in the weeds. Well, if I continue with my metaphor of getting lost in the weeds, what else do you need? You need a lot of weeds. If you're not messing around in the weeds, you're not going to get anywhere either. So, if I take the spiritual journey thing like that, and I kind of look online, I spend quite a bit of time uh, online, mostly, I suppose, on a YouTube channel, looking for videos that people have made of a New Age type thing and finding channelers and all kinds of things like that. What I have found is it's increasingly rare for me to find someone that I find of value and that I find of interest because there's a lot of what's out there that either I flat out think they got it wrong or um, they're saying that same thing hundreds of other people have said and they're kind of just being copycats. Now, one of the things I've been putting out blog posts. I've been putting out articles here and there. I wrote a couple books on self empowerment, and I'm willing to say that, to the best of my knowledge, the things that I've written, the things that I've shared in my videos, you're not going to find anyplace else. When I give Gaia Ascension updates, every well, I'm trying to do them like now, I'm trying to do them kind of every week. That's kind of what this is, where I'm talking about something that I hope is of value to people. Um, I'm deliberately trying to create something that's not like everybody else. That's why I say that I don't channel information because uh, what I do is I function on the astral planes, the etheric planes, and I have my experiences and I try to interpret what's going on energy wise, energetically, according to those experiences. Whether I'm successful or not, or whether that resonates, I don't care if it resonates with people. I'm just trying to share what I feel is appropriate and what I feel appropriate, like for this video, is trying to get the message across that it's got to be work. It's a treasure hunt. Anybody that gives the carrot away the first time you ask for it, it's not valued. And the irony is, I can try to give the gold away, I can try to give the carrot away each time, but the harder I try to do that, the more people are just they're not. It's good. The cheaper it becomes. You have to have a treasure hunt. The whole Western mystery tradition is based upon the concept of a treasure hunt. You got to go out there in the weeds. You got to go out there and you got to search and search. And you got to be drawn down false trails. You got to be diverted. Your attention has to be taken away from the target so that it can be drawn back. Because how do you know what the true target is unless you've been drawn back 100 times to the true target, to the true goal? Because these other ones were wastes of time. This is the way it works. And what I'm going to I'm going to try to say something very, very simple, but it's going to be so simple that people are going to go totally over somebody's head or something like that. They're going to ignore it. They're going to say, well, whatever. And that is that what I'm finding out now is that essentially self-programming our subconscious in a way that directs our subconscious clearly towards our personal goal in life is as simple as you can state it. You need an altered state. You need to program your subconscious. And you need to program it in such a way that it clearly understands what the goal is and what it needs to do and what the expectation is. And it will try to get you there. The problem is everybody else is trying to program your subconscious too. It drives me nuts to look at a TV show or get online and try to watch a video or something, and every 3 minutes you got a commercial. Or if you're watching television, well, I don't even have television, but I know people that do, and I've seen you can have up to 20 commercials in a row, short commercials, but they interrupt the programming of the TV show. And well, what's the TV show doing? Programming. Now, you go to a movie, you watch TV, especially you watch some of these cartoons. The cartoons they used to 24 frames a second, but it doesn't matter really, I suppose, how many frames per second anymore, because anybody that is watching a cartoon or that is watching a TV show or is watching a movie, how are they going to be watching it? They're going to be watching it with their mouth dropped open. They're going to be watching it in an altered state. That's what our world is. It's an altered state. You can get into an altered state through the frames per second of a video or a movie, or you can get into an altered state through overwhelm, like a Marvel movie or a lot of these movies where they're throwing so much detail and information at you that you just go into overwhelm. And when you're in overwhelm, you automatically go in an altered state and everything just soaks in and you're ripe for the suggestions. And this is what narrative is doing. It's why narrative is so important, because it's feeding. I used to think narrative was they were trying to make people change their mind. It's not that at all. They're aiming at the subconscious, because the subconscious is what shapes the life that we create for ourselves. We can think it's the conscious, we can think it's our conscious choices, but what I'm learning as I get older is it is our subconscious choices, and whether those subconscious choices get us into trouble or whether they lead us to pots of gold determines our success or our failure in life. And one of the things that's related to that getting lost in the weeds, or that sword that goes in every direction, is it's like a metaphysical principle. You will, if there's any way to do it wrong, the first thing's going to happen, you're going to do it wrong. That's happened to me most of my life. It's like, oh, if there's any way of getting it wrong, I'll get it wrong. And that's the way it works. And if you don't try, you don't get it wrong. But you don't ever get it right either. And if you listen to somebody else and you do what somebody else wants you to do, you're never going after your dream either. I just want to, and I'll finish this video up, I'm going to just say that we each have a reason that we're born into this world at this time. We each have something that we came here to do. And if we look inside our hearts, it is something that we are passionate about. It's something that we are emotional about. And everybody else is going to be trying to pull us away from that. But if we are truly doing what we are meant to do in this life, it will benefit us, it will benefit our community, it will benefit our loved ones, it will benefit our entire world. Win, 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 win. Everything else is weeds. I'll leave it at that. Till next week. We'll talk to you later. Bye.